It is Wednesday the 18th of the 6th, 2025. The time 22 minutes past 10. There are a couple F1 centric threads at which we need to pull. F1 movie. Brad Pitt has come out and talked about the very fine line that it needed to traverse, engaging both old grizzled F1 vets and new F1 attention dollars. We'll talk about that. So too, we'll talk about Frederick Vasseur and pressure circumstances, because Christian Horner's now come out and confirmed, by the way, confirmed, that John Elkann was obsessed with him and desperate to sign him once upon a time. We'll talk about Alonso complaining about one Sir Lewis Hamilton and what that means for Scuderia Ferrari going forward. So too, we'll talk about Gazzetta speaking about Ferrari's success in Le Mans since 2023. They haven't stopped winning, in stark contrast to the F1 team, Scuderia Ferrari. Let's talk about F1 movie in the first instance, because Brad Pitt's come out and said that the difficulty is always going to be engaging new fans as well as keeping old. How do you do that? Brad Pitt says that he needed to, quote, thread the needle, that they didn't want to dumb it down too much, but we needed to invite new viewers in. He shared at the premiere on Monday. I think that's techier than techie things. Surely that's the dilemma, the paradoxical nature of it presented to F1 in 2025. Drive to Survive is perfect, right? But I'm never going to watch a George Russell special speaking on him becoming his final form. And then they refer to Spa as if he won that race and did not get disqualified. Of course, I'm not going to like that. There is such a thing as truth. And I'm not an abbot of a reason. Although that's not to say that Drive to Survive hasn't done bits for F1. And the same thing with the F1 movie, notwithstanding the fact that it will not be true to life. Old F1 fans, grizzled F1 vets, grey-bearded ones will have to suspend their disbelief. And that's a problem. I think the F1 movie, depending on the lens through which you ingest your Formula One, will be a gangbuster success, just like Drive to Survive was. But that doesn't mean it won't have its critics. Oh, and by the way, if we're talking about Alonso, he was none too pleased. His old teammate in 2007, the one that they call Sir Lewis Carl Davidson Hamilton. There was a circumstance after the race where Alonso was like, what's this Lewis Hamilton do? What's he doing? Look, ultimately, towards the end of the race, if there's a safety car, what you want to do, Fernando Alonso puts forth as his supposition, is make sure you say super close to the guy in front, even if you are racing for 7th and 6th. Why? Because there's always a potential 5-second penalty. You don't have a map of it at the time whilst you're in the car. How do you know that Kimi Antonelli in the 3rd position isn't going to get a 5-second penalty, and you down the road in 6th or 7th or 8th don't stand to profit from that? That's why Fernando Alonso says, I have no idea why Lewis backed off of Charles Leclerc to the tune of 7 seconds over the remaining laps, the last few laps of the Canadian Grand Prix. Alonso's like, listen, catch up to him, chap. There could be 5-second penalties littered all over the shop, from which I stand to profit. And herein lies the difference, as far as Fernando Plan Alonso in 2025 and Sir Lewis Hamilton in 2025. If you are Fernando, you look to scratch and claw for every sinew of durable competitive event. That's always been Fernando's nature, hasn't it? You saw at Hungary a couple of years ago when he was cleaning the track with a view to optimise for his race start. Lewis Hamilton, on the other hand, if he gets a sniff of a race victory, 25 points, then he will go ham, pun intended. Mention no name Silverstone last year. George Russell was never going to beat Sir Lewis around Silverstone. As brilliant as he is, Lewis Hamilton gains an extra 20 or 30% if there's a race victory on offer. But if it's a rainy day in Stoke, if we're just competing for 6th and 7th, then I'd argue that Fernando Plan Alonso is better suited, more fit for purpose than a Sir Lewis Hamilton. Oh, and by the way, Lewis is not being helped by Ferrari. He needs to have that 25-point sniff right. And at the moment, as at the time of writing, he doesn't even have a car. Instability at the rear, lacking confidence, medium to high speed turns. That car is not the one that Lewis Hamilton needs. And so there is pressure now. Talk in the Italian papers, the Italian F1 media, that Frederick Vasseur's tenure is doing one of these, shortening by the day. Why? Well, it's made more pressurised by the fact that over in World Endurance Championships, there was a small event called Le Mans over the course of the weekend. And in that, in stark contrast to Ferrari's F1 team, who have known nothing for all of the last 20 years, since Kimi Raikkonen in 2007, in stark contrast, the WEC team has nailed it every single year since they entered Le Mans in 2023. Look, there's a chap over there called Antonelli Coletta. He's been managing it. He's been getting fastidious attention to detail. Since he came in, they've been winning Le Mans every single year, 2023, 24, and this year, 2025. They can't stop winning the marquee event, some say, in motorsports globally. So surely John Elkann and co will be looking at this chap, Antonello Coletta, thinking potentially we might need to supersede one Frederick Vasseur with him. They will not wait forever, not in perpetuity. Coletta is there ready to take the jump, so why not do it now? Well, they'll give Frederick Vasseur a little bit more time, but not a lot. And that's not to say that they've been winning the World Endurance Championships. They have not. But Le Mans is the marquee event, the one that takes the headlines. And Elkann and co will see shareholder value in that. Will they not? It's going to get techier than techie things. Oh, and by the way, we spoke about Christian Horner potentially superseding Frederick Vasseur. And in F1, there is no smoke, some say, without fire. Gossip and rumour, speculation and conjecture. Of course, we've got to contextualise some of what we talk about with that. Of course, I get it. But a lot of the press and media said that this Frederick Vasseur talk is nonsense, is rubbish. Talk about the news when it becomes news. Well, you weren't saying that last year when Lewis Hamilton talk to Ferrari was happening. How did that work out for you then? Last of the late breakers. Well, now Christian Horner's come out and confirmed that there were conversations with Ferrari. The speculation had been this, that John Elkann is obsessed with poaching from the Bulls that are red one Christian Horner to supersede as team principal of the red car with a yellow badge and black prancing horse atop. One Christian Horner. They want him to supersede Frederick Vasseur, excuse me. And now you get per Gazzetta. Again, all F1 publications are created equally, but some are created more equal than others. Horner reveals, I was contacted by Ferrari. Oh, the humanity. Why would they contact him, chat, if they're not looking to replace Frederick Vasseur? This makes no sense. Just as the way in which the Ferrari engineers set up the car at the Canadian Grand Prix per Sir Lewis Hamilton. This makes no sense. Team manager revealed a behind the scenes story per the Telegraph that on the back of the harassment case, resigning was never an option. Same goes for the people around him. Here's what he said. I'm flattered, quote, that other teams have thought of me. In the past, Ferrari has actually approached me, but my heart is in the Red Bull colours. I'm not going anywhere, says Christian Horner. I don't think that's a story though, Christian. The story is this: we have confirmed all of the speculation and rumour that John Elkann, CEO Scuderia Ferrari, the red car with the yellow badge, black prancing horse atop, is obsessed with having Christian Horner, the legend, the team principal that built the house of the Bulls that are red, supersede one team principal, Frederick Vasseur, on the back of his material underperformance. Now, for the avoidance of doubt, before the Canadian Grand Prix in the Constructors' Championship, Scuderia Ferrari were 177 points behind the McLarens in the Constructors' Championship. They finished the season last year 14 points adrift, very nearly Constructors' Championship, and that has to matter. If you're talking performance, all the shareholders and related parties, the key stakeholders at Scuderia Ferrari will be concerned with is year-on-year performance. And nobody could argue with a straight face at this point that the year-on-year variance for Scuderia Ferrari with Frederick Vasseur at the helm has been nothing if not disastrous. Oh, the humanity.